Hello, welcome to the first video of the Worldly Christian video channel. I was going to start off with something a little bit more theologically based, but I decided to put that off and start with something a little lighter, although no less mind-bending, with the differences between the movie Arrival and the short story by Ted Chiang on which it's based, The Story of Your Life. So I made these changes. I wrote down a whole bunch of different things that I thought were changes and how they affected things. And then I thought I should go back and actually watch the movie again, since I hadn't seen it since it came out. And as the movie says, memory is a funny thing. I totally misremembered it, but the insights I had, I think, are still valid and interesting, so I thought I'd go ahead and share them. So the two major differences between the book and the movie is in the movie, or I should say in the book, the pods, there's like over 100 pods, and they are sent down and they have a sort of looking glass which allows the humans to interface with the aliens as if they were right there in the room with them, even though they're not. They're all up in orbit. In the movie, the pods actually contain the aliens, so they're right there on Earth. And this allows for a lot more drama. They can do a lot more different things with that once they have the aliens there. The thing related to that I was surprised is that I really hated the idea that they sent down a pod and brought Louise up into their atmosphere. That seemed totally illogical from the science of the movie. And that's the big thing with science fiction, is it has to be logically, hold together logically. You have some idea that's way out there, but then based on that, what are the logical consequences of that jump of faith? So they bring Louise up in the pod, and as they're talking to her, they say some of my favorite lines in the movie, which is where they say Louise is already thinking in the future, which I didn't remember where it was said. I certainly didn't think it was said while she was up in the pod. And the other one is where they say that they will need the humans' help in 1,000 years, which is why they are now here to visit the humans, which we later figure out why that is, but that's not obvious in the fact that they're there. As a matter of fact, to the non-linguists in the movie and in the book, the aliens just come down, they talk to us, and they leave with no particular reason to do that. Of course, the linguists who have learned the language and that are now thinking apart from time, they understand why they're there. And that leads into the other major difference, which I thought I had seen, which is the way that it's revealed or unveiled that she's thinking in the forward, that these reminiscences are flash forwards, not memories. And I thought that it was kind of hidden in the movie, where I was wrong about that. The book, the way he writes it, is such that in those future passages, he says, when you are X13, I remember I'll say this and you will do this. And the tenses change, and it's easy to kind of not know, I think. I had the misfortune of only reading the story after I'd watched the movie, so it would be curious to find out if someone had read the story first and how they saw that and at what point they realized that she was thinking in the future. But and while they're saying that in the future paragraphs, in the other parts, it is, I had this. This was being done. This had been done. So it was very much the present tense and present past. The things that I thought that I missed in that part was the book has her not dying till she's like 25 from a rock climbing accident. So a lot of that is her interactions with her daughter as she's going through her teenage years. So we miss all that in the movie, obviously. The other thing that we really miss is the romancing of Gary and Louise. In the book, they're like going out to dinner together, and he brings her back to his place to cook her dinner, which you miss a really interesting scene where actually when she's starting to think about memory as something that isn't just in the past, but also possibly in the future. As they're in the store getting food for him to cook for their dinner, she walks past the utensils and she notices a salad bowl. And she remembers when you'll be 3 and you will pull this off the table and, it will hit you in the head and you'll have a stitch and you'll be crying. And then she, reaches out and decides to buy it. And, there's no reason for her to do that except that she knows that she will need it in the future. And she talks about that in the book again, that it's not a compulsion. She wasn't fated to do this. She didn't have to do this. It was the right thing for her to do, is to buy this salad bowl. In that case, I think it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say forced, but she knows why she needs it, so she buys it, as opposed to seeing something that she needs and then remembering, that she's going to need it for some future event. But, in the movie, they're kept on this military installation away from everything. They don't leave. So, whereas in the story, they go out to eat, they can go back to his place to eat. None of that can happen in the movie the way it is. So those are, the major differences. One is the whole idea of, how it progresses through with her daughter growing up and him romancing her, and just the whole way that the forward remembrances, flash forwards happen. And the second one being the actual presence of the aliens on the Earth. There's a kind of a hole here in that. Before I leave the first part, I really missed the romancing part, because in the end of the movie, or the end of the climax when the aliens are leaving, he says something about, what I really want is Louise. And it's kind of out of the middle of nowhere that he's saying this, whereas in the movie, they don't have that particular phrase. I mean, in the book, they don't have the particular phrase. It's just, we know that they're married for the final ending. So in the first part, the first major difference with the aliens being there, this is where the plot hole is that there's really kind of no reason for the different countries to get upset and want to destroy the aliens. I guess the last appearance they have with the aliens is where they say offer a weapon, and so some of the countries think that some people will get it and some people won't, or they don't know why. We don't know why. But so that's kind of a hole as far as why they are so upset about that. Yes, a weapon is going to destabilize things, but if they're all getting it, it shouldn't be a problem. However, so in the movie, they have everyone upset about that. The Chinese and basically every other country decides to blow up the alien pods, and the soldiers in the American compound try to sabotage the aliens, which I thought worked well with that concept of people wanting to blow up them things. And so that gives us a ending, or I should say a climax to the movie, which I really liked. It's a little bit Hollywood dramatic, but I still liked it, where she's walking through the base and then she opens up a box with books of the universal language that she's written to Hannah, her daughter, and she's walking through and she's at the book opening for her book, and General Chiang comes up to her and says how important it was that she gave him a call, when they were at that time, that in that crisis, at that time of crisis, and how much it meant to him that she called him on his personal phone, and she says, "I don't know your number," so he shows it to her, and then in current time, she grabs a phone and calls him, and then he says, "My wife's dying words," and she says that, and then they stand down and they all come back online and are talking, and then the aliens leave. And as I said, except for the linguists who learn the language, no one else knows why. And I guess the point of her having written this book also was the idea that she is now giving other people the chance to learn how to think outside of time. And she talks about in the book a lot about, her life. She knows everything is going to happen now throughout her life. And that's the way it's just going to go. And it flows from there back in memory forward. And this is similar to what Kurt Vonnegut does with Slaughterhouse-Five. Although with him, it's not the same feel. With him, the aliens make it seem like you're stuck in amber. You're just, this is the way it is, period. With Arrival, it's, I will make these choices. These will be the way things come. And I think that really has something profound to say about the future and free will and destiny. We many times conflate fate with destiny, but they're really different. And if you think about the Greek tragedies, when something is fated to happen, it doesn't matter what you do, what you try to do, it's going to happen. So when Oedipus is fated to kill his father and marry his mother, he does that without knowing who they are, and it just happens that way. Also, when Theseus, or however you pronounce him, was fated to kill his grandfather, when he finally becomes king and everyone loves him, and he's at some Olympic Games and he throws a disc and he throws it and it goes off into the crowd and hits Chryseis, his grandfather, and kills him. So it was fate. There was nothing in it as far as his free will. But destiny has that idea of free will. So in the chapter 5 of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, at the end, Darth Vader is saying to Luke, Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. It is your destiny. And when he says that, what he's saying is your choices will lead you to defeat the Emperor. So it's not as if you will defeat the Emperor and you have no say about it. And I think that's also the difference with Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Slaughterhouse-Five is very much of, you don't have any choice about this. This is what is going to happen. And in the Arrival, it's very much of, you do these things of your own free will, even though you know what you're going to do beforehand. And I think that also says a lot as far as the doctrine of predestination. I'm not a big fan of Calvinism. I'm not a big fan of that doctrine, but I like the idea of a pre-knowledge of God. But when you look at it like in Arrival, it's not that we don't have free will. It is our free will is following our destiny, which God has laid out before us. Or in Arrival sense, we know before what we're going to do, but that's what we're doing because that's our free will to do that. And it's similar with I think, predestination. So anyway, that's what I have for today. If you like this video, please leave something in the comments. If you don't like it, you can leave something in the comments too. I will try to have the social media locations down in the below, and that's one of the things I'm waiting on, is to try to get those set up. But when I do, all the information should be down there. So thank you for watching. Signing off.